Hey everybody, welcome back to A Matter of Life and Maiden, the podcast of the Beast. I am Joe Labriola, and today this is episode 32 of the podcast. Episode 32 already, wow. And this is like the 41st video I think posted, so 41 videos deep, episode 32, because a lot of those episodes that Matt and I did, and some of the ones I did by myself, had multiple parts to them. So yeah, 41st video of A Matter of Life and Maiden, the 32nd episode. So what is today's episode about? Based on the title, if you've seen it, if you've read it, this is the next album speculation. So Iron Maiden's 18th studio album, which I'm speculating they're going to release next year in 2025. Based on what I've talked about in the previous podcast episode and throughout the course of the podcast in general, through all the episodes, some of the tour stuff I speculated with Future Past and all that stuff down the line. So, yeah, 2025 is the 50th anniversary of Iron Maiden. We know that. It's also the 25th anniversary of Brave New World. And I talked about that at length in the last episode. But the thing about the 50th anniversary is it's very important, and I'm sure they're going to do something with that where they're going to announce something big. They have to. You know, it's not like Iron Maiden to be like, oh, it's 50th anniversary, we're not going to do anything. They're going to announce something big, whether that's a new tour, a new album, both. Maybe even more. A new studio LP, a new live album, a new tour. I mean, it could be a multitude of things, which for Maiden fans like me and the rest of the Maiden community out there, we love when there's a multitude of stuff happening. One thing is awesome, more than one thing is even better. We're grateful, we're appreciative of all the stuff that they churn out for us. Now, the significance of the date 2025, even though it is the 50th anniversary, I've talked about this before too. Release of albums since the reunion. They went from doing a 3-year gap between albums to a 4-year gap, and then a 5-year gap, and then a 6-year gap. But the reason for that 6-year gap was because of COVID. So just to recap, Brave New World to Dance of Death was a 3-year gap, 2000 to 2003. Dance of Death to A Matter of Life and Death was also a 3-year gap, 2003 to 2006. A Matter of Life and Death to The Final Frontier was a 4-year gap, 2006 to 2010. Final Frontier to The Book of Souls was a 5-year gap. That was 2010 to 2015. And that was also because of Bruce's cancer struggle. They were going to release that album 6 months to a year ahead of that as well. Actually, it was supposed to be set, I believe, sometime in mid to early 2015. So like they were going to release that in like March or May initially, and they pushed it back 6 months because of the cancer struggle that Bruce was having and his chemo treatments and all that stuff to make sure he was healthy so they could go out on tour. And then from then they recorded Senjutsu in 2019, early 2019. They were going to release it in 2020, but because they couldn't tour with the album, they postponed it for a year, and then they were basically like, hey, we're tired of waiting. We need to give our fans the album at least. Hopefully COVID will be better and things will clear up by 2022. And that's what they did. So they gave us the album in 2021. 2022, they toured with Legacy of the Beast and added the first 3 Senjutsu songs to that, and now they're doing the Future Past tour. So that was supposed to be a 5-year gap. It would have been Book of Souls 2015 to Senjutsu 2020, but then COVID happened, so they pushed it back to 2021. So I think this one is going to actually be a 4-year gap, which is great because of what happened with, Bruce's cancer struggle, push Book of Souls back a little bit, COVID to push Senjutsu back a little bit. Now that the world's back to this new normal and everything, and they're touring again, I feel like we're going to get something in 2025. The 18th album to coincide with Iron Maiden's 50th anniversary. And I think we might get, like I said, a new live album, a new DVD, History of Iron Maiden Part 4, maybe showing some stuff from the Legacy of the Beast shows, the Future Past stuff. Who knows what it could be? We could get like a 3-part DVD. So that's exciting. But With that aside, the actual time frame of it and when it's going to be released, what about speculation for what the album is going to be about? What's the sleeve going to look like? What's Eddie going to be this time around? We've seen Eddie as himself, the kind of monster, and the first three records basically. He's kind of just a monster. Then he's the killer with the axe and killers. Then he has the devil as a puppet, Number of the Beast, Peace of Mind. He's in a straitjacket, and he's lobotomized. Power Slave. He's a pharaoh. He's a mummy. Somewhere in Time, he's a cyborg. Seventh Son, he's post-cyborg Eddie in some of the artwork, and then he's also like a philosopher or a sage. No Part for the Dying went back to the bare bone structure. Then it took away the lobotomy. Then Fear of the Dark, he's ingrained with the tree and he's a monster, which is really cool art. X Factor brings the lobotomy back and now he's vivisected. Different kind of look for him. Virtual Eleven's more of a futuristic motif again. Then he's Brave New World, he's the storm in the sky, taking the world by storm. Dance of Death, he's the Grim Reaper. Matter of Life and Death, he's a soldier on a tank. He's like some kind of, militaristic officer. Or just a grunt, like a soldier. Final Frontier, he's an alien. Book of Souls, he's a Mayan god, or just a Mayan culture in general. And then for Senjutsu, he's a samurai. So what's the next Eddie motif going to be? And this is my prediction, and this is a bold one, I'll say. But what I think Iron Maiden has kind of subtly hinted to in several songs throughout the course of this catalog, or their catalog, is, where they come from. The British Isles. They're a British band. And they've kind of touched on it here or there. The Klansman, even though that's Scottish, but it's United Kingdom. Scottish independence. William Wallace, that whole ideology. Then you had Isle of Avalon. Avalon in Welsh mythology and the other world and all that stuff. It's Britannic in general, like that myth. Also, in the lyrics for Coming Home, to Albion's land, coming home. Albion is the, fantastic name, or in the medieval tradition of the British Isles, Albion. Then you have, newer songs with Death of the Celts and Celtic history. The Celtic people, they lived in the British Isles, Britannia, in that area, which is modern-day United Kingdom. So what I think that Maiden will do, because they haven't really done this, and then, some other touchstones, when you're talking about, like, Flash of the Blade and George and the Dragon, that kind of English myth or British myth, swords and sorcery kind of tale. I think they might go that route. They haven't really done an album that's quote-unquote like epic fantasy or high fantasy, or at least have a theme like that or a topic like that. I could see Eddie as like a medieval knight, one of the Knights of the Round Table, or King Arthur, that kind of mythology. That would be really, really cool. I mean, they could write songs about, the Sword and the Stone, Excalibur, Normandy, the Norman Conquest. They could write about, 1066. All these different things, all the different rulers. They could write about different kings of Britain. They could write about Richard the Lionheart and the Crusades. They haven't really talked about that. Things like that. I mean, I think that's a motif that they could explore. They haven't really done that. They haven't really honed in and done an album about who they are, where they're from, the area of the world that they live in. And I think that could definitely be a possibility. Structure-wise, I think it's going to be more in line with what they've been doing since the reunion, where they have kind of like a central theme and a concept, and they kind of build around that, and they might do like a handful of songs where it's kind of loosely alluded to that concept, and then obviously they throw stuff in like, a literary work, or a science fiction work, or something to do with science fiction or philosophy or war in there. Now that's one way they could do it. I think that's what they're going to do. So let's say they do this, medieval knight Arthurian legend concept. They'll probably have like, 4 4, maybe 5 songs based on that concept loosely. And I'd say another 6 songs where they're talking about like science fiction or literary work or something like that. I think that's going to be tied in. I think that's how they're going to do it. Alternatively to that, though, they haven't done a concept album, a true concept album, since Seventh Son. They could do another concept album. It hasn't been done since '88. So maybe they'll do one that's just strictly focused on Britannic literature and culture and mythology. Or high fantasy. I'm not saying they're going to go out and do stuff like Tolkien. I mean, that's a little very like centrally focused. I mean, that's like Middle Earth. That's Blind Guardian stuff we're getting into, right? I don't think they'll do that. But if they allude to it, I could see that happening in a way. Again, like I said, I don't think that'll happen, but it definitely is a possibility. I mean, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna say or discount anything. I think they can do whatever they want. They have the power to do whatever they want. But I think based on the trajectory of what I've seen over the years, it's going to be more in line with what, I initially said about what it's going to look like and what it's going to be. And I think it'll be... Do I think it'll be another double album? I think they might do that. Just because of the success of the last two in Book of Souls and Senjutsu. And the fact that if it's going to be their last record, and it is going to be their 50th anniversary... while I think, like I said, there's a paradigm that works with those guys, and I think it's 10 solid songs, maybe they'll surprise us and give us like 10 super long songs, or maybe they'll give us a dozen that are in that, like, I don't know, 9 to 10 minute range. And that would be awesome. Just a full-on LP of, 10 to 12 songs that are in that, maybe 9 minute range, 9-10 minute range. It could be their longest record to date. It could be longer than Book of Souls. It could be right around there. Right in between the length of Senjutsu and Book of Souls. Or, right around there. And I think that's what they might explore and try to do. Like I said, especially if it's their last record. And, I can't really think historically about really anything else that they could do. Even if they talk about, like, the Vikings or other kinds of history. We're talking about the way Eddie looks. Maybe they will do something with Vikings. Maybe they will do something completely different from what I'm saying. But I truly, honestly think, for whatever reason, I just kind of have this hunch that this record and this Eddie is going to focus on, in some way, shape, or form, something to do with Brittany in England. And I think it's going to be him as a knight, if I had to take a guess. And it's going to be an album based on some fantasy literature, maybe a little bit of science fiction sprinkled in, and then like British history. I think that's going to be the crux of it, if I had to take a guess. Another thing they might do, like I said, I could be way off base with this. They go back to another futuristic motif, or a science fiction motif with Eddie. Kind of like they did with Somewhere in Time, where he's a cyborg, and then Final Frontier, where he's an alien. But I really don't know what other sci-fi creatures they can come up with, unless it's amalgamation of stuff they've already done, which I don't think they'll do. I don't think they're going to do that. They're going to try something completely different. And I think they'll use Mark Wilkinson again. And I think they'll give us the whole, full gatefold and everything like that, and that's cool. And I think we'll get another double album, I do. But, like I said, I just wanted to hop on here and give my 2 cents about some speculation of what I think this 18th Iron Maiden studio album is going to be. I do think it's going to be coming out in 2025. That's the first thing I think. I think that's pretty much a given. But yeah, as far as the tour is concerned, I've already talked about that. I think it could be a multitude of things. I think it's going to be a hybrid tour again, new album, maybe with some Brave New World stuff, maybe the newer stuff this time around, because the last couple tours have done with Legacy of the Beast, and even now with Future Past. It's been predominantly focused on 80s stuff, a little bit of stuff sprinkled in from the 90s, and Rock in Rio with Legacy, and now pretty much all 80s and Senjutsu with Future Past. So, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a very, very cool album, a very, very awesome year for Iron Maiden. I think they're going to surprise us with at least 3 or 4 different things if I had to take a guess. And by those 3 or 4 things, I'll echo it again. New album, predominantly, is number 1, I think. They're going to announce a tour in support of that. what it looks like. I have my speculation, like I said. I think it's going to be a Brave New World focused tour for the back catalog and the new album for the new stuff, with 5 or 6 songs sprinkled in from the rest of the catalog. I think we may get a new live record based on some of the most recent tours over the last however many years it's been. The last live thing they released was Book of Souls. I think we might get a Future Past tour live record. They released the Legacy of the Beast record, live record, Nights of the Dead, which was based on the 2018 set list and the 2019 set list. So I think we'll get a Future Past live DVD, and then hopefully that'll be History of Iron Maiden Part 4 included in that. And yeah, new live CD, new live DVD, and I think that's what we're going to get. So fingers crossed, I'm not going to hold my breath because I'm already hopeful. I know something's going to happen. At least one of those things is going to happen, if not all of them. But I just can't wait till 2025. It's September now, 2024. I'm seeing Iron Maiden in November, just a couple months here in Pittsburgh, so I'm excited. All you guys out there listening, all my Maiden family across the world, love you guys. Thanks again for listening to A Matter of Life and Maiden, the podcast of the Beast. I am Joe Labriola. Make sure you guys are putting on your Maiden music, listening to it, loving it. Go out there and see these guys on tour. They're amazing. They're not going to be around forever. They're getting old. I hate to say it. 20 years a fan. I think, by the time they do retire, have been a fan for, 25 years, 30 years, and then that'll be it. And I'll still be a fan for the rest of my life. But to be fortunate to see them as many times as I have, I can't understate the importance they've brought to my life and how they've changed it and influenced me as a person. And like I said, they are the academics metal band. They truly are. Just very learned people, genuine people. They make me want to be a better person. Anyone I've ever talked to who's a fan, just very nice, very down to earth, very upbeat, very knowledgeable, very intellectual, just well-rounded people, just like those guys. And I owe them a lot to my growth and my development, and that's why they're my favorite band. So this has been Joe Labriola for A Matter of Life and Maiden, the podcast of the Beast. Up the irons. Remember, Maiden's life, the rest is history. See you guys next time.